time to wake up. It's Saturday morning. Find some milk and cereal. Grab a bowl and spoon. No, a bigger spoon. Head to the living room and take a seat on the floor while Joseph and Chris present to you Saturday Morning Cartoon!
Hello everybody, welcome to Saturday Morning Cartoon Boom! This is a show where we wake up, the Saturday morning sun pops on the floor, biblical shoot. Oh man. Okay.
Nice.
This is the show where we wake up with the Saturday morning sun popped on the floor, big bowl of sugar cereal, while try your favorite cartoons, both old and new. I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And this morning, we watched Tangled, the series. And we actually said it this time, unlike last time where we didn't even mention that we were watching Mighty Max.
Yeah, we kind of dropped the ball.
But I feel like you don't really jump into a show without reading the title first, so you kind of knew.
Well, yeah, if you saw the name of the episode, you knew. So don't crying to me. Cry to Joseph.
No one's come crying to us yet.
And do it on his personal Twitter and not the network one if you want to cry.
Don't you dare.
Because he wants to hear your tears. He wants to hear them hit the ground.
I need to hear the tears, yeah.
He wants to hear the little drop.
Write them like with the asterisk, teardrop asterisk, so I can know. Yeah, I can envision what I'm supposed to hear.
Or take a picture of your tears and send it to him. He likes those.
Yeah, no, I have a lunchbox full of them.
Yep.
It's my happy box.
Yeah, he prints them out and sticks them everywhere, all over his desk at work.
Podcast room is full of them.
Yeah, it's
Listen
pretty
to your
cool.
tears.
Yeah, well, once you're used to how insane it is, but yeah, it's pretty cool. Cool hobby.
So anyway, Tangled the series. All right, who suggested this one to us?
This was suggested by CrazyCartoonGirl via YouTube. So thank you, Crazy Cartoon Girl. And I'm not sure if this is the same. Someone reached out to us on Twitter. Not on Twitter. Someone reached out to us on Facebook recently. And I'm assuming that maybe that was you.
Because she was asking if we had watched the precursor to this, right?
Correct.
Well, let me start off by saying I haven't seen the movie Tangled. I didn't watch the precursor, so I came into this as blind as you can to the series, aside from knowing the story of Rapunzel. And
literally blind, had his eyes covered.
Yeah, only enough to know that she had long hair and she let down your hair, Rapunzel, is all I knew. That's it. Okay. I had no idea she had Superman hair.
Did you happen to look up some more info on what the movie was about?
No, I did not.
Okay.
I wanted to come into this completely fresh so I could judge it based on its merits and not have any kind of predisposed thoughts about it from watching the movie or reading about the movie first.
So now that you've already seen it, let me give you some context because I'm an expert and
you're a Tangled expert.
Entangled. So it starts out with her in this tower, which you saw the tower in an episode. And she had been, I think, kidnapped and was kept there by this evil stepmothery lady for a while. And then eventually, through shenanigans, realized what was going on and escaped and met this guy named Flynn Rider, who they kind of went through shenanigans together, fell in love. The whole thing happened where he did something stupid and they didn't like each other and they left. And then he had to win her back again. Every Disney movie, does something similar to that. And then they defeat the crazy, scary witch lady who was the stepmom thing and return her to her parents. And at the end of the movie, she had lost her hair powers and her hair turned brown and it was short. She got a haircut. Was she actually, her and Flynn Rider, whose real name is Eugene, we find out, do show up in not Tangled. They do show up in Frozen for a split second. They're walking around. But then there's another movie that happens before the show, in between that first movie in the show, where it's like a 50-minute thing, which is what Crazy Cartoon Girl was telling us about. And all we know is, all I know from that, because I didn't read much on it, is that her and Cassandra snuck out, and she still had her short brown hair. They're hanging out outside, doing girl things, I guess. I don't know. And they found some rocks, as girls do, and touched these weird rocks. And then all of a sudden, Rapunzel's hair turned blonde and grew all magical again. Because they needed something to set up the series. Because you couldn't have a Rapunzel series, especially called Tangled, if you don't have the crazy Tangled hair.
Yeah. Okay, so I got most of that from the intro itself. I like the intro a lot, actually, because it's like being drawn out and colored. It's kind of like watercolor in a way, or maybe it's like calligraphy, watercolor. I don't know. I don't know what it was exactly, but it looked great. Yeah, and I see her with the short brown hair and then the black rocks that come into play. What I got from it was most of what you were saying. I don't understand, though, why he was Flynn Rider and then Eugene. So he took the name of Flynn Rider from someone else?
It was a book he took the name from. Okay,
yeah, because I had seen when we meet Varian that he was his fan, and he kind of said that, but I didn't quite understand. But now, okay, I get it. So Tangled the series started in 2017 and is still going on. It was developed by Chris Sonnenberg and Shane Pigmore.
Pigmore?
Yeah, Pigmore, yep.
Oh, I like that one. That's a good name.
Oh, I like that name too. Okay, it was produced by Disney Television Animation, distributed also by Disney. It's so far run for one season, 22 episodes, but it's slotted for a second season already. There might be an episode or two out. I'm not certain at what point it is at this time, but we were just watching it as far as the first series goes, or the first season goes. And for a short synopsis, the series unfolds as Rapunzel acquaints herself with her parents, her kingdom, and the people of Corona.
I was surprised that there was a very continuous story to this. That luckily with the episodes we watched, we got to see, I think, the very main points of it play out. At least
I love it when this happens, when people line up these episodes perfectly for us to where they chain off of each other. That makes me so happy because I don't need to watch all the filler to get to the main points. And it helps me kind of follow without feeling lost, especially since I'm jumping into this without any knowledge of the franchise.
Right.
So who were some of the actors who played in this show?
All right. So surprisingly, this really surprised me. The two main voice actors, the voice actors for Rapunzel and the one for Eugene, a.k.a. Flynn Rider, are the exact same voice actors from the original movie, which I feel like when it comes from a movie down to a TV series, you think of things like Aladdin, Little Mermaid and stuff, that doesn't really happen. So I'm really surprised they brought the real star power to this. So that said, the voice of Rapunzel was Mandy Moore, who most of you would probably recognize from her music if you are like me and Joseph's age or maybe a little younger. If you don't recognize her from her music, you might recognize her from, she's been in a lot of movies like A Walk to Remember, Saved. She has voiced cartoons for Tron Uprising, which I didn't know was a cartoon and kind of wish I didn't know was a cartoon. High School USA. And right now, most famously, she's in the TV show This Is Us, which all I know is everyone cries. Everyone cries when they watch that show. No, so I don't want to watch it because I know I'm going to cry.
Is that a live action?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Eugene, so also known as Flynn Rider, we'll just call him Eugene from now on because that makes it less confusing, was voiced by Zachary Levi, who, if you don't recognize his name, as most nerds would probably recognize it, he's been in shows like Less Than Perfect, Chuck as the titular Chuck, Tiny Commando. He's in Thor: The Dark World and Thor: Ragnarok as Fandral. He was in Heroes Reborn, and he is now filming Shazam as Shazam.
Oh yeah, because The Rock's gonna be Black Adam.
The voice of Cassandra was Eden Espinoza, who has been in the shows Titan Maximum and Robot Chicken. The voice of Varian was Jeremy Jordan, who plays the character of Wynn from Supergirl. The character of King Frederick was Clancy Brown. That is a name that I think a lot of nerds recognize. The Kurgan from Highlander. But he's also lent his voice to lots of animations. So he's been in Mortal Kombat, Defenders of the Realm, Superman, Justice League, and Justice League Unlimited as Lex Luthor. That is the voice I always hear in my head when I'm reading the comics too, is his version of Lex Luthor.
Oh, definitely.
Also, Megas XLR, the Jackie Chan Adventures, The Batman, The Spectacular Spider-Man, Clone Wars, Hulk and the Agents of Smash, Troll Hunters, and Star Wars Rebels. So lots and lots of animation for him. And then finally, the last guy on our list here, the voice of Kieran, who was Varian's father, was voiced by Jonathan Banks, who is best known for playing the character of Mike Ehrmantraut from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul.
And did you say who was playing Pascal?
I did not.
That is D. Bradley Baker, who took over for Frank Welker from the movie. Yeah.
Of course, Frank Welker did it.
Yeah, like those are the two guys that you kind of associate with animal sounds that you hear in cartoons.
There were a couple other like interesting people too, like one of the, the pub guy with the helmet that looks like a bucket on his head with horns coming out of it. That was Steve Blum. Mm-hmm. The short little old man that you always see randomly appropriately named Shorty was voiced by Paul F. Tompkins. And one of the guards, Stan, was Diedrich Bader. So some interesting voice actors there too.
You know what? I came into this series. Well, you know what? I don't want to go there yet. I'm gonna give you the marshmallows. Then I'm gonna tell you what I thought. Okay. For a few tasty marshmallows out of our big bowl of Tangled cereal. This is the first Disney Channel animated series based on a film since The Emperor's New School in 2006. Other Disney shows like this from the past decade have either been Disney Junior or Disney XD shows. So that's kind of cool.
I got to tell you, Emperor's New School sounds terrible. I mean,
I did like Emperor's New Groove, but I don't know. I have heard nothing about Emperor's New School, so I only assume it was a failure.
Okay, good.
Yeah. The first TV series, this is also the first TV series based on one of the computer animated Disney animated features. That's a lot of animated.
Yeah.
One of the computer animated Disney animated feature films being Tangled 2010, of course, although the TV spinoff is traditionally animated instead of the CG that we see. However, like the CG animation, however, the 2D animation is great in this. Like I love the art style of it.
It is very cool because the art style looks like it's like a children's storybook.
Yes.
Kind of look to it. And I've never really, I'm sure there's some out there, but I've never quite seen another show like this. And I really appreciated that. I thought it had a really cool look to it. There are a few spots where I feel like the animations doesn't have enough cells to keep up, and that was mainly in the first episode. And I feel like after that, I didn't really notice it so much. But I mean, the art style of it itself, I really enjoyed.
The last thing I had, you kind of already mentioned, which was this was set between Tangled and the short Tangled Ever After. Well, I don't know if we did mention that. So Tangled Ever After comes after this. Yeah, like that's kind of like a future thing. And this is the bridge between Tangled and that.
Future like
from
it's
what
cyberpunk, because that would be interesting.
Yeah, no, totally. That's
There's
exactly
robots
what it is.
and stuff.
I'm just going to assume yes.
I like this idea. Tangled meets Blade Runner. That's the show I want to see.
Tangled Runner. Yeah.
Yeah. They can't run anywhere because they keep getting tangled up in hair. It's gross.
The Tangled robot will be Tangletron.
Oh, voiced by Frank Welker, of course.
Oh, of course. It's going to be Megatron's voice.
Yeah.
So have you ever seen this show before? I know you'd seen the movie, but had you watched the series at all, or did you know about it?
I didn't know about it until it was suggested. So no, I definitely had no knowledge of this whatsoever. I had only seen the movie, not when it first came out, but I saw it on DVD, once it released, like through Redbox or something like that. So, and that's been a couple years. So I went in pretty fresh on this. I just knew the basics from the movie.
Oh, like I said, I hadn't seen the movie. I knew about it, of course, but I didn't know about the series that followed it. So I came into this as fresh as you possibly can, knowing nothing about it. I didn't want to research anything, like I said, before it, because I wanted to see how it stood on its own. Yeah. And honestly, I think it stood pretty strongly. Like the first episode had me a little bit like, okay, let me try to piece this together. Who's who, what's what,
sure.
Who is like, what kind of relationships do we have here? And then once I got that down, which happened pretty quick, because they give it to you pretty, not in the way that it's like, this person is exactly this person is this person is this. They do it very naturally, and they introduce the characters and their relationships very, very quickly into the show. So you get that right away. And then from there, it's kind of smooth sailing. And once I understood everybody and how they related to each other, I was good to go. And I really enjoyed the series, actually.
I was wondering, because when we first got this, when I told you that was the one we were watching next, you were really like, like, no.
I always have, like, not my doubts, but I'm always worried when it comes to like a Disney princess type thing, because I don't know how much they're going to fall on like the trying to, I guess, make it super girly or anything. But that, again, I hadn't even seen Tangled the movie, so I didn't know what I was getting myself into at all.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, you can probably tell me, was Tangled, like, does this follow that storyline pretty closely as far as the characters and everything?
The only thing it has in common is the characters.
But I mean, does it feel like the movie does? Like, does it feel like a natural, like, progression of the movie?
Yeah, the character interactions, like, between Rapunzel and Eugene and Pascal, that all feels totally natural. That is the exact kind of stuff from the movie. The same with the horse, Maximus and the pub guys. They all feel the same. Cassandra, really, I don't think she was in the movie. I don't remember. No, and Varian definitely wasn't.
I think she was introduced in that one between them, whatever.
Yeah, Cassandra was in there. Yeah. But I like the idea of her character where she's kind of like acting as the handmaiden for Rapunzel, but then she's also like kind of like this BA warrior chick that can fight and everything, and she's really scrappy, and I like her owl.
Oh yeah, I like her relationship with Eugene, like their like mutual like dislike of each other. Yeah.
It seems like Cassandra doesn't dislike Eugene as much as Eugene dislikes her. And Eugene doesn't really have a good reason for disliking her, which is kind of funny. He just thinks she's evil.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and jump into the episodes we watched for today's show. The very first episode, highest rated episode, and finally, random listener chosen episode. Order may vary depending on how these episodes fall chronologically, but of course we have to start with the very first episode being What the Hair? Season 1, Episode 1. In this one, Rapunzel and Cassandra venture to a wizard's cottage and consult him regarding her hair.
Yeah.
It's much more interesting than that sounds like it would be.
In the in-between thing that happens before this, she did have the hair cut off. She didn't have the powers anymore. It wasn't super long. She touched these crazy rocks while her and Cassandra had snuck out one night. It came back full force. She lied and told everybody that she just woke up that way because she was afraid she was going to get in trouble or cause too much concern that she had actually snuck out, and that it happened when she touched those rocks. So she was kind of ignoring the problem, not telling the full truth, and in a couple cases lied about it. And where some of the problem originates in this episode is that she doesn't like the idea of lying to Eugene about what happened because they are girlfriend and boyfriend. Cassandra is trying to keep it hush hush because it will get Cassandra in trouble because Cassandra's the one that led her out of the castle. And also Eugene, like Rapunzel would love to tell Eugene, but Eugene notoriously cannot keep secrets.
Were those rocks in the movie at all?
No. Okay, I don't remember those whatsoever.
Okay, so that was probably introduced in that in-between short movie. Apparently when she touches them, they like multiply or something, or they like, I don't know. Like I didn't get exactly.
Yeah.
They were real concerned with her touching them, but I didn't. And then when she did, it's like they exploded or something, but I'm not sure exactly what it's doing.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I mean, I don't think we really are told throughout this what's going on with it. And I don't think the characters know either. I mean, Rapunzel, they don't really know why these rocks react to Rapunzel the way they do. But there's some sort of, and she says too, like, I have some sort of connection to these. I know it, but she doesn't understand it. So like she touched it, it gave her the hair and everything back. And then the rocks started multiplying. We didn't know how bad it was until later. Like this episode, the rocks aren't really much of a threat. It just kind of starts coming into play like at the very end of the episode. So it's kind of like an aside. And then you start realizing, oh, that's where the story's going. Like, this is actually a big deal.
Yeah, this episode is mainly, like the description said, her trying to figure out what's going on with her hair. Like she grew it back after touching those rocks, like Chris said. Now we see, like, this is my first time seeing that it's basically like super powered hair. It's invulnerable. It's like super strong. It's super long. Like it can like stretch down that entire tower. And like she wakes up from nightmares sometimes with it like sprawled out. Yeah. And kind of like clinging to walls like a spider or something. Like it looks really freaky, but it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. She does have a lot of nightmares, and like, I mean, some of them aren't that bad, but there's a couple in some of the other episodes that they're kind of freaky, honestly. So like the show surprisingly takes kind of a dark turn. It's just, it just feels like a dark theme with what's going on, especially when we get to the next episode. The next two episodes, just there's a lot of deceit and backstabbing and all kinds of things going on that really surprised me. I didn't expect that at all. Like not that deep of a level and not that dark of a theme. And also the rocks themselves being dark, and they're just kind of like, you know, coming up out of everywhere, and it's something that's just looming over the kingdom, you know, like it's weighing on everybody's minds.
Yeah, I appreciate that I didn't get to hear that much about the rocks, or that maybe in some of the filler or some of the in-between episodes, like we did get some more information. But as far as I know, even up to the point that we watched, they don't know a whole lot about them either, or why they're there. Yeah. Their main goal is to try to prevent them, because they've kind of started sprouting in this town, Old Corona. And at the rate that they're going, this is what we hear, they're going to eventually reach the castle, and they're sprouting up, kind of destroying everything in their path. Even it seems even like the crops and stuff too, like it's kind of just souring the land around them. Yeah.
But in this episode, so like you said, the main focus was her hair, and they're trying to, they don't understand why the reaction happened where her hair did grow back. So Cassandra's like, hey, I heard that there's this wizard in Old Corona that lives in this, castle or tower or something. Let's go there. Let's see what he has to say. Maybe he can give us some, info or point us in the right direction. So they go there. Eugene kind of like, I think he just kind of follows them, doesn't he? Or is he there for a different reason? I don't remember.
No, he does follow them because he wants to know what's going on, and they haven't been telling him. And he's like, he swears he can keep a secret, but then they give him examples of the like many times that he has not kept a secret. And that was pretty funny seeing that someone's giving the king a gift, and then before, like right when they hand it to him, he gives away what it is. And it's just a bunch of stuff like that. And I appreciated the humor that they added in here. It was good levity to the kind of serious tone it took sometimes. And that's very much a Disney thing to do, but it worked really well for this show.
Cassandra and Rapunzel head to this wizard's place, and they seek out this wizard named Varian, who looks really scary at first. And it turns out he's just like a kid. Not like kid, but he's younger than Rapunzel is. And I'm guessing she's probably in her late teens or something is my guess at how old she's supposed to be. I'm not entirely for sure.
Like, he's definitely a teenager, but he's not a wizard. He's an alchemist. Like, he wants to make sure that that's clear.
Yeah.
And
I like that too.
Yeah, it's a cool little setup he has, but he's still very much an amateur alchemist. Like, it's one of those where things go wrong continuously, but he's working his way through it and learning as he goes. But he happens to have this machine that he can strap Rapunzel's hair to, or strap Rapunzel to, and then just do like 87 tests on her hair or something like that. And it was great seeing her the first time where it's like she goes through this thing and it like tugs on her hair and stuff. And she's like, oh, okay, that wasn't that bad. He's like, okay, well, that was test number 1. Only 86 more to go. And,
exactly.
And then you're just seeing her like throughout the episode. That's kind of the backdrop, is her hair just being like pulled in all different ways, like buzz saws, like trying to cut through it and stuff. Right. Basically trying to destroy her hair or disrupt her hair in any way possible. And nothing's getting through it. It's superhuman hair.
Also, like his lab is really messy, and there's this raccoon that just keeps showing up, like eating stuff or rifling through things. And he keeps having to like pick the raccoon and throw it, and then it'll just pop up again somewhere else. That just cracked me up, especially the very end of the episode where we see the raccoon's been eating all that food, getting real fat.
I think it becomes his pet eventually, like Rudiger.
Yeah, because he comes back and you see him with Varian again in other episodes. So, like, in addition to that, so eventually Eugene shows up and he sees what's going on. And while all this is taking place, like, there's this big, like, there's like an earthquake kind of thing. Eugene's trying to ask Varian what's about, and Varian's just like, oh, no, it's kind of a secret. And of course, Eugene's like, oh, a secret, I want to know, you know. So Varian gives in, takes Eugene underground to show him these machines he's got. Like, I still am not totally clear on what the point of them.
There wasn't like any like huge point that was like, oh, this is going to save the world. But apparently what those machines did was like make these drops of something that they instantly heated up water. So like just one drop would make water go from like cold to hot so that he could give the villagers warm water or hot water.
Oh yeah.
Like
right.
that's his plan, but it's these elaborate machines that are like
They're
causing
huge.
earthquakes.
So Eugene's kind of like apprehensive and he's like, are you sure these things aren't dangerous? And Varian's like, oh yeah, like the chances of something going wrong are really slim. Eugene goes back up to the girls and the rumblings keep happening and they start getting worse. He really wants to keep this secret, but he can't. And he has to tell the girls what's happening. And that's when like the machines are they're falling apart and Varian's like, oh, maybe it was, maybe it wasn't as safe as I thought it was. And literally everything's exploding and stuff like that. And, Eugene's trying real hard to get Rapunzel out of that lab and stuff, and they don't make it, man. The whole thing collapses in on them. Like, stuff explodes. I was like, whoa, like, what?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I knew, like, what was probably going to happen, but I liked that they really kind of put the stakes that high. Like, it looked like you could assume the worst if you didn't know any better.
Well, the end of this, so what happens is some of the rubble gets cleared away, and Rapunzel basically did the Groot thing from Guardians of the Galaxy, where her hair enveloped them in like a ball and it protected them. So they're fine. Cassandra got out fine. Varian's fine. Just the place is kind of ransacked, and Varian's father is super upset, Kieran, and is telling him, like, you know, I told you have to stop this stuff. And now, you know, old Corona's not quite destroyed, but a lot of it's pretty messed up. And at the end of this is where we start seeing the black rocks start shooting out of the ground.
Oh, yeah. And that's kind of like a good introduction to the ultimate enemy that's going to be, or I guess the main antagonist is going to be in the backdrop throughout the rest of at least the first season. I don't know where it goes from there. But yeah, so the next episode we watched for today's show was Queen for a Day, season 1, episode 16. And this is actually like a long episode. It was like 40 minutes long or something.
Yeah,
So it was kind of 2 episodes together. In this one, I mean, it's basically like the title says, like the king and queen are going out for their anniversary and they're leaving Rapunzel in charge. So she is literally queen for a day, but it's only it's for 2 days is what it's supposed to be. And she's really nervous about it. Like, she doesn't know if she can do it. And, you know, Eugene's trying to pump her up and say, like, hey, you know, you've got this under control. And the king and queen have faith in her. So everything seems like it's going to be fine. But then she kind of immediately starts getting overwhelmed by the responsibility.
And there's a song, of course, because it's Disney. I don't think there was one in the first one, but I think we got a couple songs in this one. And they're actually kind of fun, honestly.
There were 2 songs in this one, yeah. And I did like the songs. We didn't get one in the first one, you're right.
Yeah. The one part that cracked me up was when the lady was like, the city's overrun by cats and kitties. There's just little cats everywhere.
I liked how in Rapunzel's song, it's kind of describing how she's going to help take care of all the problems that are going on.
Yeah. And
then on the opposite side of that, like, even after the solutions that she's given, like, we see how those have failed, and then the same civilians coming back and complaining again. So it's like a leader's work is never done, and that's where she really starts to feel the weight of it.
So there's like a side story going on at the same time that goes alongside Rapunzel's. The side story is that these rocks are just completely destroying old Corona. Just overtaking everything. Like, they're destroying the crops, they're destroying some of the houses, stuff like that. Kieran, being the leader of this village, I guess, or mayor or something, I don't know, goes to visit the king of Corona. So it goes and sees Rapunzel's parents before they end up leaving, and talks to the king, but lies about what's happening. And just basically, instead of saying these rocks are coming out, like our town's being destroyed, he says something along the lines of like, we need more land because the crops aren't coming in very well, blah, blah, blah. And the king's like, yeah, you can have more land and everything. Varian's just kind of like, why did you lie about that? And Kieran's just kind of like, it's not your business, really. You know, and just kind of like, I know what's best for my village, and this had to be done this way. So there's like, just Varian's kind of questioning everything and kind of questioning the integrity of his dad, which I just thought was interesting. They go back to old Corona, and are kind of doing their thing. And so some of those black rocks showed up in Varian's lab. So he's trying to do some sort of experiments to it to try to see if he can destroy them, because it is destroying their town. There's an interesting part before his father sees what he's doing and confronts him. We see his father by himself looking through like an old chest, and he finds like I don't know what looks like, it's like an old helmet with some sort of symbol on it. And I think there was a sword in there, like he was some sort of like warrior back in the day. He was like a soldier
or something.
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I like that, and we don't know what it is. I just like that idea that there is something that Kieran was really keeping secret.
Like you said, Varian is down there experimenting on things. Kieran comes down to try to, to stop him. And then in the process of that, we see like something that Varian has done has made like this, off of these crystals, this like orange crystallized stuff start to spread, almost like a small like virus.
Yeah.
And then it like Kieran comes and like pushes him out of the way so it doesn't like attach to him. And then it like traps his arm in there. And that's when, made his arm or his leg. I can't remember. It trapped him in some way. So Varian starts to freak out, and then he's like, I can't like fix this right now. I have to go, Rapunzel will help like that. I know I can get help from Rapunzel. I just need to go over there, and I'll be back as soon as I can. When he was leaving and his father started to see it spreading, like, I like how he wrote that note out, and that was probably going to explain the attachment, or like why he was moving or wanted more land instead of like telling the king directly, and maybe more about like what's going on, like why he had that soldier armor in there. But like we don't ever get the reveal of that because he gets fully engulfed by these crystals while Varian's out, or at least shortly before that.
Yeah, it being Disney, he's probably not dead, but like they give you that feeling like he is. But and it's interesting because he was trying to keep that note from getting enveloped that he wrote to Varian. So like when he does get completely overtaken, and the note does too, like he's like has his arms stretched up as high as he can, trying to preserve that note so that Varian can read it, in case this thing does kill him. Or at least trap him forever. And I thought that was cool. In the meantime, they're being hit by this monster like winter storm, the likes of which they've only seen once, like, or at least heard of in myth.
Yeah, like a huge blizzard.
Yeah, and it's just awful. And so, Rapunzel's parents are being pulled on a carriage by Max, the horse, to get to their cottage, but the ice gets so thick that the carriage slides. Max is trying to grab it and pull it back up, but it slides off the ledge. Like the cart just goes over the ledge, and Max is the only one left, and the parents are, as far as we know, gone. I figured maybe that they would still be alive, but I'm like, I don't know, man. Like that is a way for some characters to go in a Disney thing. You don't actually see them die, but the thing they're in is disappeared or gets destroyed or something.
That was another good example of those that kind of mislead where you're like, wow,
whoa.
I thought the same thing. Like, I was like, is that why this is a super long one? Did something really serious happen?
Yeah. And that was what I was thinking too. I was just like, oh my God.
they stopped the storm by creating a wind machine that blew the storm or blew the blizzard out to sea. And it's only like legend at this point, like supposedly.
And so, well, Corona's on an island, which is important in this case. So they don't really see much hope because, I mean, the island's just getting demolished. So unfortunately for Rapunzel, she's like, okay, her parents aren't coming back. She's got to evacuate the island. So they start doing that. As she's deciding to evacuate, that's when Varian shows up and he's just like, you got to help my dad, blah, blah, blah. And of course, with all this stuff that's going on, she's evacuating her kingdom. She's like, I'm sorry, I can't help you. But he's just like, not having it. And he's feeling betrayed and stuff. And the guards take him away. And basically kick him out of kick him off the island.
But you can see in Rapunzel's face that like
it's hurting her.
Like she wishes she could help. Like she can't like split herself both ways, or she totally would have helped. And that's what it's a really strong moment because that kind of is where this rift happens between she and Varian, and there's almost nothing she could have done about it.
So as the evacuations are starting, so Varian leaves and heads back to Old Corona. As the evacuations are going on, they're moving these carts across that have like oil and stuff like that. The wind is so strong it blows one of the carts sideways. The oil catches fire, it blows up the bridge, so they can't evacuate the island. So the only other thing they can do is Rapunzel asks again about this device. It's called the Demantius device, I think. So they go her and Cassandra go in search of that, along with Pascal, her little chameleon lizard, and the owl. They all go. On the flip side, Eugene had left to go try and find the king and queen. And he led his, pub buddies and stuff to try to save them. So they do find the king and queen. They're alive. The king almost dies again, but Eugene saves him. Then Eugene almost loses him, and then one of his pub buddies helps, and they're able to save them both. So that's at least one good thing. And Rapunzel and Cassandra find the Demantius device, but things start going wrong there.
Well, like the ceiling starts to cave in because of the storm outside when they're trying to start this device up, because they have to start it by kind of like making circles around it by, I don't even know what those things are called, where you're like pushing something in a circle to. Well,
yeah, they're pushing these like these levers, like in a wheel. Like if you think of it like an old pirate ship wheel, if you lay that down horizontally instead of vertically, and you're going around it,
and it's made of like all these gears and stuff that are going on. And so once the roof starts caving in, like one of these rocks like goes between one of the gears, one of the cogs, but it's below their level where they can't reach it or anything. So they're like, wow, like if we can't fix this back at the kingdom, we see that the only bridge off of this island is destroyed by the storm as well. So it's like everything's over for everybody if they can't get this fixed. So they're trying to figure out a way down. Rapunzel lowers Pascal with her hair, but it can only stretch so far, so we can't quite reach it. And so here's the part where I was about to cry.
I knew you were.
Yeah, because I love Pascal. I love Pascal so much. Like, this is my first time being introduced to him, but I love him. He's got so much personality as a little chameleon. And a single tear like comes from his eye because like he knows what he's about to do, and we think we know what he's about to do. And so he jumps off of her hair like to get this rock out of the little gear and keep it going. And so your assumption is, just like all these other times that somebody's nearly died, that he is dead and he has sacrificed himself. Rapunzel cries too. So I'm like, surely this time, like they have ended this little chameleon. Like there's been so many misleads before. One of these has to be real, but none of them were real. So he comes back. Yeah, thankfully, like out of all the ones that could have happened, like I would have sacrificed the king and the queen twice over as long as we could save Pascal. Yeah,
he comes back like he isn't unscathed though. He's like barely alive when he gets back.
He is really bruised. Yeah.
But the machine works. Pascal did it, so he saved the kingdom. It turns on, it blows the storm away. Everybody's saved. My favorite part of this whole thing, though, Varian goes back to Old Corona. He sees his dad's been fully encased in this crystal thing, and dude, Varian like loses it.
Oh man, like man, like you think that you kind of assume it's going to happen a little bit, but then you see him singing a song like that. Like the song he was singing was basically like he wants to make his father proud,
right? And
he starts singing that again. So like, okay, and so he's not gone like to the dark side yet. Like he's going to be okay, and then he ends it with like everyone who gets in my way will pay. And it's like, oh man, like he is gone. Like he's got his hand and balled into a fist and everything. You're like, oh man, what a way to end this.
I was completely surprised by this. I was like, I did not see this coming at all. Like they're like building Varian up to be the like the bad guy. And I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Like this is like the perfect setup for a revenge plot though, because it's like, there's nothing Rapunzel could have done. So it's not even like it was under her control. It was completely, I mean, this fighting off the storm, which she did manage to save her kingdom, but at the cost of her friend, her friendship with Varian. So it's like, man, like this is what it's like to be queen for a day. And that's why this was such a strong episode.
Yeah. And, you know, it did show, I think before the thing with Varian too, that Rapunzel was talking to Eugene again back in the castle once everything was okay. And she was just like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I can't be queen. I don't want to be queen. Like, this is too hard. I had to make horrible decisions, you know, and I liked that because it put a real realistic touch on what it means to be a leader. Like, it's not all fun and games and you can't make everybody happy. And sometimes you have to be the bad guy because somebody has to be.
We see the full weight of it and she gets to see it too. It's almost like the worst possible thing that could have happened while she was queen for a day. So it's like, if it was just like a regular day or whatever, a regular day or two, like she wouldn't have second guessed it. But now it's like so much has happened.
Right,
man. Yeah. They pushed it really well in this episode.
And just a heads up, this episode was picked by CrazyCartoonGirl.
Oh yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, it was great. I was the first episode. I was kind of like, yeah, you know, I could take it or leave it. This one, I was just like, oh my god, like, I was completely surprised.
This episode alone would have sold me on the concept of this show even if I had not seen the first one. Yeah. So yeah, great job, great pick. Well, the last episode we watched for today's show was The Quest for Varian, season 1, episode 19. This was the highest rated one, and in this one, when Rapunzel investigates a cryptic message from Varian, she finds herself on a run from a group of masked men. Hey, let me tell you first off what I didn't like about this episode, and that was lack of Varian.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I kind of liked it and didn't like it at the same time.
I mean, it's not like a nitpick to where I'm like, I hated it. Like, never again will I watch this show. It's just one of those things where it's like, I wanted to see where Varian was at this point after seeing the episode where he kind of turns dark side. Like I wanted to hear him or hear what he's got planned. Because for me, when I see this message that she gets from Varian, I'm thinking like, man, it's got to be a trap or something.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Last we saw,
and it might be.
He was kind of like, yeah, and it could be still. Like it's hard to say. We didn't get it for as much as that happened in this last episode. Like, we didn't get a lot of resolution to anything.
Right. So one of the reasons I was okay with not seeing him is I like the idea of it leaving you hanging for a few episodes, because this episode only takes place like 2 after Queen for a Day, I think. I like the idea of knowing that Varian is maybe going dark side, but then he kind of disappears off of the face of the earth for a while. Like, you don't know what's happening. And I feel like that makes it more intimidating, is because it's unpredictable and you don't know what he's planning or like how far he's gone and stuff. So I like that aspect of it, but like you, I do want to know what happens with him, and I want to know what it was all about. And having seen him look like he's about to take revenge on Rapunzel, but then send her a note that, like you said, maybe it was supposed to be a trap. I'm not quite really sure of that. Because it did lead her to, like, it basically, she had a nightmare, and in the nightmare she received a message from Varian. It looks like when she wakes up, she did the spider hair thing. It was creepy. When she wakes up, they're going about their day, blah, blah, blah. And then she sees this note from Varian, like in real life. She's like, oh my God, I dreamed of this. I got to see what this is. And he tells her to go to his lab to find this, I don't remember what it was called, but this certain object, and to be careful because they are looking, they'll try to stop her or something. And she doesn't know.
Oh, yeah, it was the graphic.
The graphic, yeah. And she doesn't know who he's referencing that will try to stop her. And like, maybe she doesn't know at this point that Varian kind of has it out for her, or I don't know. Like, I mean, we're assuming he has it out for her because of the end of that one episode. But so like, I'm thinking it's a trap, and it looks like, I don't know. It could go either way. It almost feels like there's three sides of this one. There's Varian, there's Rapunzel's side, and then there's this third side that comes into play once they really get going. It's
like the masked cult, or the masked men who seem to be part of a cult because they're like identical.
Yeah.
And you don't get they don't speak, you don't get anything from them until the very end. And then it's like a big reveal, and it's like, what?
Yeah. So like, basically they're like, okay, well, we got to go to his lab and try to find this thing. She's feeling compelled, and she has a key. I don't know where this key came from, but she's got a key. And,
it was in the message.
Okay. It was
from
in the message.
Varian.
Okay. So they're like, we got to do this because we got to figure out what's going on. In the meantime, like, those black rocks have been popping up everywhere, and they're getting closer and they're getting closer to the kingdom. However, Rapunzel's dad, earlier in the episode, and she's talking to the king, she's like, have we heard from Old Corona? I'm worried about what's going on there. And her dad says, no, like, we've took care of the black rocks. They're gone and everything. And I was like, wait, is he lying? Like, what's going on? How did they that seems like a real important plot point they just brushed aside there. So when her and Cassandra and Eugene leave the castle, they go out into the world, like they get off the island of Corona, and the black rocks are everywhere, and they are bigger than ever, and everything is getting destroyed. And I mean, they are huge.
Like, he didn't cover his lie very well at all, or even try to. He's just like, no, they're gone. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
just
exactly.
Also, don't leave the island.
As they're approaching the lab, this crazy cultist looking dude is chasing them. It's this big guy in like armor. It looks like a cross between Magneto and Doctor Doom. I don't know what was going on there, but he's like chasing them. They get into the lab. They find the thingy. They unlock it, and there's like a piece. It's like a piece of a scroll, but not quite the full thing. And I don't remember what it says, but
we don't see like words on it. I mean, it's some kind of weird like hieroglyphic looking thing. Maybe they can read it, but I don't know. It wasn't in like written out where we can read it.
Okay.
But it had symbols on it that showed like on the left side, it had like all these like things leading up to like a flower. And then on the other side, it had like these things leading up to what looked like one of the black rocks. But that side was ripped a little bit. So there was a piece missing from it.
Right.
And they look at it, and maybe they understand what they're looking at, but they don't say it. And so we don't get to hear. And then like the rest of the episode, they're just being chased down by these masked men who are, as Varian warned, are trying to get it from them.
And what's interesting is, so they are being chased by all these guys. They have to find a place to hide. Well, at one point, Max, the horse, runs up with a frying pan and knocks all these guys out, which is fun.
Oh, yeah. Max is awesome.
Yeah, Max is great. He's just like that in the movie, too. Max was the one beating everybody up while Eugene just, like, out of pure luck, survived things.
The description that I read about Max was that he is like a horse with the nose of a bloodhound.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's weird. Okay.
He's a pretty awesome horse.
Nice.
So they flee, and Rapunzel leads them to a place she says they can hide. Turns out it's the tower that she was originally kept in. I was like, oh, what a cool callback. Like all the way back to where everything started.
And they're having to like go through this like maze of those black rocks, and they're just like, Rapunzel, do not touch those rocks, whatever you do.
Yeah.
Like that, they're especially careful about that.
Yeah. So they get to the tower. They're up there for a little bit. Like, okay, what do we do now? Well, they got followed. All the guys are outside. They're climbing up the tower. They're not sure what to do. So Rapunzel It's just like, all right, well, here goes nothing.
I loved this part because they're asking her like, Rapunzel, what are you doing? And she's just like super action hero.
Yeah.
She lets it down and just like knocks them all off the tower. And it was just awesome to watch that.
Yeah.
And I think it touched like one of the crystals or something.
Yep.
And this was part of her plan. And that's when we see it explode and like send those dudes just flying off of
everywhere.
it. But at the same time, it starts to destroy the tower. So again, this is another one of those like near-death experiences where we think all of them are going to die, but Rapunzel like wraps them up in a ball of her own hair that kind of bounces away.
Yeah, it's a glowy, bouncy hairball.
Yeah,
Pulled
exactly.
a Groot moment again, and got them all out. Yeah, it was interesting. Like when her hair touches those rocks, it causes like some sort of giant release of energy. And like you said, yeah, it just blew all the guys over. It started breaking the tower apart. And then all of a sudden, like all the black rocks start shooting up like big, like crazy and just ripping through this tower. And the tower falls apart, like it's destroyed. Which I thought was interesting. It's like, man, that's where it all started. And then we just saw it fall apart. And I thought that was kind of a cool thing.
What's cool about that too is we even see Rapunzel, like because she was trapped there for so long, even though like she was a prisoner there, like it still had sentimental value to her. So she cries seeing it
her home
be
for a long
destroyed.
time.
Yeah. And so that was kind of like, I thought that was really interesting that she still had those feelings toward it, even though it was her prison basically. So that was a really strong character moment.
And I think it was kind of like her old home falling apart. I think it was kind of a metaphor for this reveal, which is that they had captured these guards or these guys that were chasing them. They pull one of the helmets off. It's her father's guards, and they have been chasing her down to steal that scroll thing from them on behalf of her father. So her father has turned against her with whatever is going on here, and like, you know, it's like the looks on their faces, it is not lost on the audience. You're just like, oh my God, like this is bad.
The king is clearly like, maybe he thinks it's for her own good, but he's clearly trying to hide something from her, but at a huge, like sending guards after her, trying to hide things from her, lying to her constantly. There's a lot about this show that's fathers lying to their children. Yeah,
exactly. And, you know, and I kind of wonder too, like Kieran lied to the king. The king knew that Kieran lied, and then the king lied, and I'm like, what? This is some Game of Thrones shit going on within the world of Disney. What is this?
So much deception.
Yeah, it really is.
And it's great because you don't know ultimately what it's going to lead to. Like it really leaves you hanging, and I like that so much that they don't spoon feed it to you.
Yeah, I was very surprised by all that.
Like you said, the first episode was like, oh, this is fine. Like this is a good intro episode. But then the rest of them were like, oh my gosh, like this is leaving me hanging. Like this is making me really curious about what's going on in this weird world of a chick with long, powerful hair. Well, Chris, looks like it's about time we ask our inner kids to let down their locks of gorgeous flowing hair so they can fight off the ultimate enemy, pointy black rocks, when they travel to the Kingdom of Corona to tell us what they thought of Tangled the series.
I thought this cartoon was going to be for girls, but I kind of like it. There's funny animals and some cool fights and magic and science, and Rapunzel is super cute and will probably be my new girlfriend soon. But maybe it'll be Cassandra. I don't know. She's kind of scary. But I gave this cartoon 5 bowls of glowy hairball cereal out of 5.
I'll admit that I was a little confused jumping into the first episode, not having seen the movie, but fortunately, that was alleviated fairly quickly. There was action, intrigue, friendship, deception, and best of all, indestructible super hair. This was a surprisingly fun show, and even though they did not go the CG animation route used in the movie, I think the 2D art style they went with totally worked. Overall, I'd give Tangled the series 5 big bowls of Why Is There Hair in My Bowl cereal out of 5, and while I think you get the most out of it having seen the movie first, I still had a really good time coming in blindly. Also, after having seen what an amazing friend Pascal was, I'm considering taking back your best friend card and handing it over to a faithful lizard companion, Chris. I mean, when's the last time you saved me with your prehensile tongue?
Hey, I will have you know that as young Chris grew up, his tongue was able to do some amazing things and get him out of some very tight situations that became very sticky.
There's probably things that young Joseph should not be hearing. You stay away from Chris's tongue, you hear me?
Oh, you had to take it there. Well, speaking of inappropriate comments, do you have any closing comments on this show?
Yeah, this show was surprisingly good. I didn't know what to expect. I mean, I knew it was going to be like standard Disney affair, but it was more than that. Like, it was actually a really strong series that was a great accompaniment to the movie. Like, it didn't feel like it was a side project at all. It felt like a great continuation of, even though I haven't seen the movie itself, like, I would imagine, like you said, that the characters are following along the same style. So I think that it's definitely something to catch. And it's also a great evolution of cartoons that are quote unquote seem like they would be for girls, because I think there's more equality to it. And I think the presumption that a girly cartoon would be like really like dresses and fancy hair stuff or whatever is kind of going by the wayside. And now it's all, at least Disney's going in a direction where it's something all kids can enjoy, even if it seems like something that would be for one or the other. So yeah, definitely check it out.
Yeah, there was so much more to this show than I expected. Like you, I thought it was going to be like happy, silly adventures, Disney style, but they really went with this dark fantasy type mystery, and they managed to weave in betrayal and backstabbing and all kinds of intrigue to a really effective degree. And I think it's honestly something that people of all ages could get into, and all genders. Though I don't know if I'll watch more of the series. I do want to know more of what happens. So I don't know. Like I might watch it, or I might just read about it. But either way, I gotta get caught up. I gotta know, where this story unfolds. So it was just so well written and well done. So bravo, Disney. Bravo. Also, did you notice that Rapunzel never wore shoes? Like what's going on there? Why is she shoeless?
Oh, really?
She's a princess. I'm sure she can afford it.
I never really noticed that. Yeah.
The whole thing, she's barefoot.
Maybe the bottom of her feet are really hairy.
Oh, she's not me.
It's also indestructible hair.
Yeah, I know how that feels.
Thank you, Crazy Cartoon Girl, for suggesting this to us. I don't know. I do know that I would not have watched this had you not suggested it to us. So it's these things it kind of opens my eyes to the possibilities of things that I would assume would be a certain way to end up really surprising me and being something completely different.
I'm happy that we got to see this because it was so enjoyable and just intriguing, and I can't wait to find out what happens.
And please, like, if you know about what happened to Varian, message me, let me know. Don't make it message us on Twitter or something. Like, don't make it a public thing in case people are worried about spoilers, but I have to know. I need to know what happened to Varian.
We have to know.
We have to know.
We have to.
Well, listeners, looks like our milk supply is now run dry, so it's time for us to say goodbye. Next week, we'll be watching
Dungeons and Dragons, submitted via YouTube by Doggy Vision. Yeah.
Oh, was this at the top of the charts?
At the top of the charts as of right now, as of recording this one.
Nice. Yeah. That's awesome.
Real quick, special thanks to @Koblack3527 on Twitter for wanting to give us a 5-star ranking on iTunes, but he has an Android and listens to us through Google Play, which sucks because they don't want you to rate podcasts. But if you are able to leave us a review, we will read it on the show. So hopefully you're very nice.
We're announcing people who want to give us a 5-star review, but can't for some reason.
Yeah. Well, he specifically messages us, and he's just like, I really want to give you 5 stars, but like my app doesn't let me do that. So
well, let me give a shout out to all the people who appreciate us to the point where they want to give us 5 stars, but can't for one reason or another.
And those of you that can give us 5 stars, please do.
Please do. Yeah.
It'd be pretty cool.
Give us 10 stars to make up for the people who can't.
I don't know if that's possible, but that'd be cool.
Make a separate iTunes account and do it.
Oh, that's
Please.
cheating.
No, don't do that. Yeah. Once again, I'm Joseph.
And I'm Chris.
And we'll see you next Saturday.
Presented by Nerdsloth,
a place for lazy nerds.
If you like what you heard, consider donating at patreon.com/nerdsloth so we can continue bringing you quality shows. Be sure to also leave us a review and share your favorite episodes and clips on social media. If you're looking for more content, visit us at nerdsloth.com.